Hey, hello, Piotr. Nice to see you. Seems like an age since we've done this thing. Exciting times. Exciting times for Polyend, right?
Oh, yes. We've been very, very busy recently.
Yeah, well, so not often we get to see new stuff, but you actually have a brand new piece of hardware, right?
That's correct, yes. After so many years making the groove boxes or DAWs in the box, if you will, we decided to create something that you play in real time. So what you see is called Polyend Synth. It's a multi-engine polyphonic synthesizer. You can play up to 3 engines at once, but before I dive deeper into the features, please allow me to play some demo.
Right, excellent. Wow, okay. So many questions thrown up by just that one short demo. So it's called Synth. It's continuing with the sort of Polyend form factor of the, what's that? Is that 60 pads there?
Exactly, 5 times 12.
And they all felt, I mean, it felt like they looked like they all had sort of polyphonic expression going on in them. So you got that too.
Yes, this is true, and it's polyphonic. Let me show you.
Is that just pressure or is that positional as well?
No, it's just a pressure.
Okay, well, so let's go back to basics. So this is a multi-engine synthesizer, DSP presumably. Is there any analog business going on, or it's pure DSP?
No, it is fully digital, but there are some simulations of analog circuitry inside for oscillators and for different filters.
And what's the polyphony of the entire unit then? How many notes will it play?
It's actually quite hard to answer this question, not going into the details, because the answer is it differs. There are, in general, 8 voices available for the entire synth, but there are 2 exceptions. There is one that changes it to less when you're using physical modeling engines. It's quite heavy on CPU,
right?
So you cannot play 8 voices. It also differs on the settings of it, but you can easily play 4. And another exception, this time on the positive side, is grain, the granular engine, where in paraphony mode you can play as many notes as you want.
Right. So what are the engines? I mean, I think I read there's 8 engines. Is that right? Or am I 8 engines? Yeah.
Yes, there are 8 engines for synthesizers and 3 engines for effects. So if I were to show them, I'll start from WTFM, which is wavetable FM synth, and we made it so it's the most easiest to play. FM can be quite intimidated in terms of programming, so we've got 2 shapes, and so 2 operators and kind of threefold feedback. Let me just initialize maybe. So it can sound nice and gentle, like almost DX7 keys. But also if I start fiddling around with the shapes and change the shapes to something less smoother, and now start fiddling with FM, I can immediately start finding those kind of more harsh territories. So that's WTFM. You heard me playing some kind of arpeggiator, so let's see what's underneath. So you see here those dots shows that we have some grooves going on. So from something very, simple, you can automatically do some kind of more sophisticated kind of automatic sequences.
Right, got you.
And we've got different types of arps, and some of them are monophonic, some of them are polyphonic, which is also, I think, cool. To latch the sequencer or arpeggiator, you hold Shift and get your hands free.
Oh, that's neat. So it's more like a sostenuto. So you could sustain those notes and then play on top of those. That's neat.
That's true, unless you are, of course, using another engine. So now let's maybe progress to another one, which is VAP, Virtual Analog Polyphonic, and it's based on those classic polyphonic synthesizers we all love, like Juno, like Oberheim, or the one I particularly love, Prophet 6. So the architecture has two oscillators that are swipeable, and there are different classic shapes like triangle, sawtooth, or square. Of course, with pulse width modulation you can detune them. Loads of cool sounding filters, like emulation of Moog 24 dB filter, Oberheim state variable filters, low pass, high pass, band pass, notch, you name it. A whole plethora of amazing sounding filters. Then we've got ADSRs, 3 of them in this particular engine, 2 LFOs, and like a modulation matrix where you say what modifier is being sent to what destination and controls with what amount. Gotcha. So tons of things that could be used when you're playing polyphonically. So let me switch the settings of voices here. So we have less voices on those ones, and here like we utilize the full 8, let's say.
Right.
So instead of me dialing in all the values now, I'll just go through some presets and show you how they sound. Yeah, this is actually, that shows you how flexible this engine is.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so another engine is Wavetable, and it's like dual oscillator wavetable where you can load your wavetables through the SD card or via USB. And we added tons of nice ones, again, working on proper sound designers. So like having a romance with wavetables for quite a while, we decided that this time we need something like of a very high quality. We added this warping function between the wavetables, and there is this retro mode which disables the interlacing between the waves, so it can produce a little bit more sizzle on the top end, especially when you play higher octaves.
Right, so a bit more aliasing. Yeah.
And again, we added tons of filters, different types, ADSRs, LFOs, and the same modulation matrix which you already saw. So maybe let me just do the same as previously and just browse through a little bit of presets. So you see I'm dialing those C1 to C3 macro knobs, and these are like multi-macro knobs. All the presets we deliver have something cool implemented, so it can immediately start sounding different if you want to just play with, hold a note, or chord and then find something. Add some motion, change the timbre, do some experimental stuff. Okay. So you hear the vast possibility of different waves, but again, it is kind of upgradable if you want to load more waves and utilize our engine. It's very easy to do so. Now I want to switch the scene to something else. Here I am showing granular engine. So actually I have a couple of instances of the granular here on the left. It plays arpeggiator, so if I turn it off and add some density, and it's in paraphonic mode, so again you can play tons of notes. It doesn't occupy that much the CPU of the system. Let's get back to arpeggiator, turn it on, and yes, and see what's going on if I lower down the density. So this is what I like about this system. It kind of plays the sample very organically. That's, by the way, our friend's daughter singing there.
Nice.
So the second instance here has this burst mode on. So if I switch to something more, I have loaded some. Oh, by the way, you can load your files, of course. I have loaded some drum kits. They're like drum loops. Let me turn off the delay.
That's just a rhythmic, repetitive sequence of some. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's find some better example. It's quite cool effect. I love it just because it's like nothing like I've produced on other devices, groove boxes especially, which are very
right.
grid oriented. I love them, but sometimes you wish to just go beyond that. Yeah. Okay, so there we have the grains. Now I want to talk about acid, which is based on one of my favorite synthesizers, which is 101. It's 4 years old. It's SH101, obviously. And I just checked. I bought it 20 years ago, which is immense. And yes, we all love it, and we wanted to have this kind of. Also, we added 303 style to add even more sourness, because why not? And I mentioned you don't have a drum machine here like built in, but if you are creative enough and you have the step sequencer here, I'm using this one to make some kind of kick. And this one is for snare.
So I'm just looking at the way the knobs interact with the engines. So you've got those sort of 9 rotaries there. Do they just sort of access the various parameters that are currently on the screen? So you can then...
Yes. Yeah, it's whenever you see 9 digits here, like in 3x3 matrix, they correspond to this 3x3 array. So it's hard to get lost.
It's hard to miss it. Yeah, you don't have to think about it too much. Yeah, that's an interesting point. So the UX is kind of intuitive.
I want to progress to let me check. Yes, something more maybe on the, I don't know, pop or techno side. So you see, I'm like, whenever I'm switching to different scene, it sounds totally different, right?
Yeah.
So what do we have here?
Techno rumba.
Techno rumba, that's right.
That's more like bossa nova, techno bossa nova.
Fair enough.
Nice.
But you can imagine like probably a beat behind it and start doing the whole composition. You just need some kind of, additional drum machine. You can utilize, tracker or play of Polyend. They fit together perfectly because this is exactly the same form factor. So here we have, what do we have here? We have PHZ, which stands for phase distortion. So it's kind of like, forgotten synthesis method, and we all love it. One of our friends has this Casio CZ101, I suppose.
Yeah, a classic.
There is the classic, the response for DX7, as far as I'm known. And this method is quite interesting and produces loads of cool effects. So let me see. I'll go through some pages. So maybe to tune it. So Karo, who created this synthesis method, was willing to be able to play as the original, but also added a couple of different characteristics to it, so it can play totally different as well. Next up is something that we always wanted to have in the machine, which is physical modeling engine. And we based this one on mutable instruments, elements which we use very often, and we love it across the team. And so we have bow, air, and strike on the exciter part, and then we have the resonator as well. So maybe showing it briefly, I would need to make the gain and maybe a little bit of more sustain on the exciter. Yes, so just the bow. Just the air. Different timbres, different airflows, and then just the striker. And if I combine them together, now I'm changing the resonator things. You very often end up with something that is in the area of our interest, like Otaker type of sounds. So yet again, a different flavor, and I hope you can already see that it can go in a very different directions.
No, well, when combined with so many other models as well.
Absolutely, and if you pair it up with great sounding effects, which you have free here, it's reverb, it's like modulation that can be flanger, so chorus.
Time-based.
Yeah, and delay, and they all have some specific cool features. It's like probably more features than you normally see on different engines. Then this device is becoming like half of your synthesizer part of studio in your backpack.
So all of these parameters, when you're sort of sequencing and creating kind of movement, are they automatable, or are they sort of for real-time hands-on control?
No, they are more for real-time playing, but they are everything is CC mapped, so you can use external gear to control it.
Right.
And every effect also has presets, so we prepared a bunch of them, but you also can create your own and recall them. That's very handy.
And when you save a project, is all that stuff saved? You don't have to worry about where something is. You just recall everything you had in the project. And if you overwrote an effect preset somewhere else, it's not going to destroy the settings that you have for the project, right?
Yes. So the project is called The Scene, and we ask plenty of amazing artists to send us their scenes. It's amazing to see what they achieved, and they load very fast. So if I were to load something totally random, okay, let's try another one. What's cool is that there is no recipe of how should I play it. It's rather a kind of colors, paints, and palette for me to draw the picture. So I kind of like this half intended projects. Yeah. Let's see something more. Let's see something percussive. I have here one of mine, which is also using sequencer for the percussive stuff. And again, you have those combos, and if I hit 3 of the buttons here, I'm using all of the combos of every engine with one twist of a knob. So suddenly, from something quite acoustic, I went to something very very electronic, so to say. Let me see. Luca Longbordi here. Luca is the one who recorded this beautiful piano. Okay, Isobuten in the house. And it's just pure fun browsing through them. So I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the actual layout of the pads? Because I'm sort of seeing you play what look like triads in ascending rows. How does that work? Is that specific?
Yeah, let me dim the camera a little bit so it is more visible, because it's a good opportunity to talk about grid, right? Yeah. If you go to menu of the grid, you see that there is this layout parameter which allows us to choose different layouts for 3 engine grids or just single engine grid. I'll stick to 3x3. And here I can pick the scale for all the setup, but also I can choose whether I want to play notes and I'm in the minor scale or the chords. Let's pick some chord like minor 9. There is one more chord mode, and it is called scaled chords or chord scale. So everything I play here is being filtered by the scale. And the most exciting one, though, it's the chord pack, which are basically chord progressions. That gives you instant inspiration, and we made a lot of them. They're amazing, but also users will be able to do their own.
Right.
The most smart thing about the grid, and you saw me playing one finger and everything was transposing itself, is because we have this mode. Whenever any of the engine is set to be chord, the other can be set to follower. So this is the leader, and these will follow. Whenever I press the key, the scale of the grid is being changed. So right, you get the point.
So it's sort of dynamic pad shifting and layout depending on where you are in the sequence of notes. That's fascinating. Right.
Also, it's amazing that if I get back here and set some arpeggio, this will follow. as well.
That's the powerful stuff, isn't it? That's interesting, yeah.
And we really wanted to make this really sophisticated algorithms behind it, just because we find out that playing grid is actually not that easy, although like transposition of notes or chords is similar to the guitar, is kind of linear, yeah? And probably that's why a lot of guitarists love synths, as we got to know. Nonetheless, it's having loads of different layouts and different scales. It can be quite intimidating, so you tend to be lost sometimes. That's why we said, like, let's develop some kind of technology that will be helpful. If you are very skillful, you can turn it off, or have fun even being skillful with this note follower. I genuinely
interesting.
love it.
So this is obviously fairly self-contained in terms of audio outputs and USB connectivity. What do we get? How does it interface with the outside world, and can you play it sort of from external MIDIs as well?
Yes, you definitely can, and this is what our beta testers were doing massively. And we have this kind of screen where you set which engine should be operated by which output, so it can be MIDI jack out or USB out, and at which channel. So they can also be like all controlled by one channel, so it can have cool effects when you play one note, and then it fires up 3 different engines, arpeggios, sequencers, etc.
Does the USB transfer audio, or it's just a MIDI? It's just MIDI data.
Just MIDI data.
Okay.
No USB audio.
Right. Okay, I got you. And what about, so if I wanted to sync it up to a tracker, for instance, would I do that over MIDI, or how would be my best?
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. You just hook up 2 devices with MIDI cable or jack cable, and you can either synchronize the tempo for your Groovebox and our sequencer, or the arpeggio, or just send the notes.
And I guess, sorry, one more question. I mean, I guess because it's software based, you have this is at release, this is what it immediately does, but presumably there's scope to add more synth engines or whatever as time comes on, right?
As this is software, so there is always a room for improvement, but we don't want to promise anything. We did before and struggled to do feature updates within the time we promised. It's always the bigger part of the equation, and I don't want to make any excuses. So this time, yes, we are making tons of improvements, and there's a big list of our internal features, and even now, as we speak, there are some features being developed.
So, I mean, this is we're recording this at the time to coincide with release. We're just a couple of days out. Do you have availability and pricing stuff ready to go? I mean, do you know roughly what are we talking about?
Yes, you can purchase Synth now via our website, polyend.com, or in your local shop. The price for the unit is $499.
Right. Okay, and that's about US euros as well. Similar sort of. Yeah.
Yes, euro price is $499 as well.
Right. Gotcha. Oh, fantastic. Was there anything else you needed to show me? I mean, there's so much in it. It seems like we could probably do a couple of hours on this quite easily, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There is tons of things, and I'm pretty sure I missed something, but maybe let's leave it to the users. Let's leave a little bit of mystery for users. I could just browse through the scenes and play for hours and hours, but it's not a point of this demo.
Brilliant, Piotr. I mean, it's very exciting time. So it must be great to be focusing on just an instrument for a little while. Because I mean, obviously with the tracker and play and all of those things that you've been doing, there's a lot more complexity. I mean, I'm not saying this isn't complex, but just in terms of pure sound design, this must be a lot of fun for you guys.
Oh yes, we are discovering totally different fields, but yeah, it's still fun. We are enjoying ourselves.
Excellent. Well, I'm so glad to hear it. I mean, look forward to seeing it out in the wild where we can hear more of what it can do. That's great.
Oh, we are at the same page.
Piotr, thank you so much for showing us Synth. I guess we'll be seeing it out in the wild everywhere soon and in the stores, and good luck with the launch.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having Polyend in the show. Thanks.
Right, well, maybe see you at Superbooth, eh?
Oh yes, see you in Berlin.